Welcome to the podcast, Asa. It's great to have you on. Are you able to give us a quick rundown of your company, Arcanum, and what you guys do?
Sure. Thank you for having me. It's great to be here. We help small and medium businesses grow more profitably by using AI and automation. So, really focus on those non-technical, more legacy type businesses who just want to get to the outcomes of AI and don't want to go through building their own solutions.
Cool. So this conversation is going to be a good one because I know AI and automation is like a real hot topic for everyone. So I think there'll be a lot of value. How long have you been running the company for?
So I set the company back up in 2016. So it's been a long time, but that was back when AI wasn't really understood. It was kind of more machine learning and big data. We started off doing professional services, kind of big research projects for government agencies and big corporates. And then over the years, AI's got better, more accessible, cheaper, faster, until obviously the last couple of years has been pretty full on.
Yeah, for sure. So how has the company evolved into, for those that don't know, in terms of what you actually do for your clients and customers? Can you explain that in simple terms?
Yeah, so we've got a platform which gets deployed into the client IT environment or cloud environment, securely connects to all of the operating data. So that could be a SharePoint or a Teams or a OneDrive, could be into Slack, a CRM, an accounting platform. Um, and then we've got kind of two major components. One is the more classical kind of chat function, which has got a lot of capabilities built into it. And then you've got use case tools. So we focus on people in HR, operations, compliance, finance, supply chain, and so then we've got pre-created AI tools that help people do things faster and therefore cheaper. I kind of really focus on unlocking the capacity of organizations so they can grow. So we're really looking to work with kind of more ambitious companies who don't want to do it the same way they've always done it, but are looking to grow without, by default, adding headcount.
Totally. So, what's the main focus, as in industries that you're working with? Obviously, there's more older school industries that are looking to adopt AI, not have to deal with too much of the how to do it in implementation, I'd imagine. So, how
Yeah,
did
so so the default really is teams that don't have or companies that don't have a developer team, as in they don't think they can do it themselves. They don't want to build out a developer team to kind of do some of this stuff. It's not a core competence that they need. And so we've got customers across construction, manufacturing, professional services, local government, education. So again, there's those businesses where they just want to use technology to get to an outcome a lot faster. Um, Typically, they don't have a CTO. They may have a head of IT that's kind of used to doing networking and password resets and that kind of stuff. But actually, more often working with third-party IT managed services companies. If you imagine somebody's running off Office 365, typically they're working with an outside expert that's looking after all of that. And so then we collaborate with them to get the AI implemented and integrated into their businesses.
Nice. So, in terms of getting into contact with potential customers and then also demonstrating and showing your value proposition in terms of how AI can help them save time, save money, or generate more money, how does that conversation go in terms of the sales process?
Yeah, so typically we're dealing with the decision makers. So we're dealing with the CEOs more often than not, or at least it's at a exec level because they're the ones who are interested in this kind of transformational technology. They're in charge of the strategy, the growth. We're in a period at the moment as an industry, so AI, where it's all about trust. And so there's skepticism, understandably, around what can AI do. We've all been kind of brainwashed into thinking it's a silver bullet for everything, when the reality is it's not quite there yet, or at least it's hard to get to. And so the sales process typically involves a trusted partner. So we're partner first. 80% of our customers come through channel, 20% we get direct. And that's because people are already working with their trusted partners, and whether that's accountants, lawyers, IT providers, business coaches, whatever it might be. And so they're our route to market. We also have a global relationship with AWS, and we're also very closely aligned with their go-to-market strategy. But the direct customer acquisition is typically through events and in person, because because of that trust, right? We've been around for a while. We've got credibility as thought leaders, and when we do events, typically then it's kind of straight into kind of pre-sales and sales process.
Gotcha. So interesting. You say 80% through partners, 20% direct sales. So obviously channels being a very important piece of it for you. How did you go about the early days of acquiring customers? Was it through those partners as well, or did you first establish a direct sales, getting those early customers?
Yeah, first was my big background's BD, so I'm still kind of partner, one-to-many kind of foundation. I had a growth hacking agency before I got into this business, so it was all about that. But from a direct customer acquisition, it was really CEO, founder sales, so out there doing the networking, doing the events, just kind of out there banging LinkedIn and whatever opportunity you get to talk to somebody. So kind of did that for years, and once you kind of get a bit of a platform and a following, spent most of our time on LinkedIn, so we kind of use that as the predominant platform. Then it's referrals, it's kind of more natural inbound. We've done all sorts of customer acquisition kind of tactics from pay to outbound or email, outbound via LinkedIn, but to be honest, very little of it works. I think at this moment in time, not that many people are looking for an AI platform for X. They're really looking, if you're a non-technical company, you're really looking at how do I use this stuff rather than a specific solution. And so that's why, again, we kind of go where the people are already asking those questions, which is typically their existing trusted network.
Okay. And so the existing network, so your partners, obviously being IT companies, what sort of partners have you got on board?
Managed services companies. Though they may be looking after 300 or 400 different clients, and they look after their IT environments or their cloud environments. We operate predominantly in the AWS ecosystem from a technology stack perspective, but because we integrate into Office 365 and the Microsoft stack, we can kind of straddle both types of IT services partners. And so they're also getting demands from their customers to have an AI offering of some kind. And so our value proposition to the partners is both enablement for them to generate revenue from this AI boom, but also to give them a ready-to-go solution that they can start reselling and monetizing. They may be monetizing through services quite often, so they would take on the frontline support, they would take on the kind of upfront client engagement and consulting, with us enabling them in the background, and then they'd look to kind of build out an AI practice or an AI proposition more broadly, and hopefully continue to work with us for the long term.
Okay, interesting. So in terms of the partnerships as well, so in terms of the product and what you actually sell, how do you position that with your partners when you're speaking to them? As in, hey, we've got this that can benefit your end customer. How do you kind of sell that to them? Obviously, the revenue growth aspect.
And the core proposition is really taking AI to your data rather than taking your data to AI. So most people's fear around AI, founded or unfounded, is data privacy and security. If you're using consumer AI tools, you're very reliant on trust with them that they're not going to do anything with your data. You also don't have the ability to connect that data into workflows. The ChatGPTs and Claudes and Geminis have a bit of integration, but not broadly. And so our proposition is, say, take AI to your data and turn it into an actual work tool, a work platform, rather than taking your data to AI and it's kind of ad hoc usage. It's not, you can't collaborate around it, so on and so forth. So it really is a business tool for people to start building their AI leverage, their AI strategy, their AI outcomes on.
Cool. And so obviously, the last couple of years especially, there's been a massive change in AI and advancements. Where do you see AI going over the next few years?
A few years is hard to say. I mean, a lot is changing on a month-to-month basis at the moment, so who knows where we'll be in a couple of years. Maybe we'll be at AGI already. No, probably not. But in terms of what's going to be really a game changer, so at the moment, we're used to kind of doing human inputs and outputs, right? So ChatGPT and all the LLMs now, that conversational interface changed the level of accessibility. When I first started the business, we had to have a team of PhD data scientists. You had to have tons of data. It had to be clean. It had to be structured. You had to have all the algorithms lined up. There was just a huge volume of barriers to entry, let alone the cost and the time to do it all. Whereas ChatGPT basically went, oh, it's available to anybody that can type, right? And suddenly, this massive explosion has happened. But it's only the outputs are only as good as your inputs. So an expert user will get a much different quality of output than a naive or a kind of early adopter or early user. Sorry. But the way it's going now is into rapidly towards agentic AI, which is able to cope with a lot more complexity, a lot more ambiguity. It can deal with outcome-based tasks rather than very explicit kind of sequential tasks. And so then we'll move from the quality of input relates to the quality of your output into a much more powerful platform. And so at the moment, can we do a task faster? Can we do it cheaper? And I think over the next couple of years, it'll be, can we do things a lot better? So if you've got suddenly the opportunity to add an infinite number of PhD interns into your business to do whatever task you want them to do at a near zero cost instantaneously, and they don't need holiday pay or whatever, right? Kind of this nirvana state of you can uplift your capability, without having to add, the equivalent cost of a single FTE. So I think we're going to get to faster, cheaper, and better over the next couple of years through agentic AI.
Yeah, totally. So only going to improve from here, which is pretty crazy. And also ChatGPT operator, seeing that in action is pretty amazing too, that it can actually operate your computer and do certain things for you.
That will unlock another set of use cases. So there's Anthropic have kind of similar with computer use, and there's other open source models, kind of large action models as they're called. And so that will unlock what RPA kind of couldn't, robotic process automation couldn't. So anybody that's more in a legacy business with either custom SQL-based platform or something that's on-prem, if you're a government agency or a bank where you've got to do things locally, there's suddenly all of those fit within the scope of what AI can help with. So that's going to be another massive explosion of use cases. And also accessibility by more and more companies, which is incredibly powerful.
Yeah, totally. In terms of your growth over the last few years, what have been some of the real challenges during that growth?
Yeah, so it's definitely been an up and down. It's been roller coaster. I mean, we definitely had a decent services business and a big team and kind of but it's you're really always selling the potential of AI, and it was very hard to demonstrate its reality. We did a lot of work in computer vision, and we were working with global sports teams on video tracking, and then COVID hit, and that took away all the budgets. And then everyone massively digitized, which is fantastic, because then there's a lot more data available to AI. But it was still, whilst the barriers and the costs kept on coming down, it was still only really for enterprise customers. And that's just a hard slog. It's long sales cycles, multi-stakeholder management. They can change quarter by quarter on their priorities, and it just becomes real tough. So it was really the fact that the technology wasn't really accessible to the mass market. Yeah, we had Google Maps and we had predictive stuff in Gmail and whatever, credit card fraud, which is all great, but from a business tool perspective, it only really became accessible as a foundational technology a couple of years ago. So we've been very business-centric as an organization from the beginning, and so now we can really lean into business outcomes and business value. What we would have charged $100,000 and took 6 months to do, we now give away for free and take 6 minutes to do, right? I mean, it's really transformed the speed at which you can get business value. And so the growth challenge has been how to find the right proposition for the right kind of customer base with the amount of funding from New Zealand and so on and so forth, right? So, product market fit has always been, the startup challenge. And part of that's been influenced by the technology, and now the technology's caught up to what we want to be doing and the market wants, which is super exciting.
Totally. In terms of future plans, obviously AI with the advancements, right, as we just spoke about, where do you see the future of Arcanum going? Is it the same business model, or do you think you're going to adapt, change? What are the kind of plans?
I mean, we're really looking at, it's a land grab for everybody right now. So how do you go out and build the right relationships? How do you acquire customers? How do you build defensible distribution? It's all of those kind of business fundamentals. I think we're in the fortunate position that the technology will continue to improve, and we don't have to do a lot with it to make it more valuable to our customers, because of where we architect the platform, the way we kind of approach the business problems. It just means that the platform will get better and more capable over time. So I think it's going to be more about how we say build out our commercial business proposition than it is the technology. Market expectations may change. The way that we integrate with systems may be different. The marketplace of different components may evolve. But I think fundamentally, small and mid-sized businesses are going to have the same needs, the same pain points, and it's going to take them. There's going to be a very, very long tail of companies that haven't quite got to embracing technology. So, I don't think fundamentally we're going to have to do a lot different over the next few years.
Okay, makes sense. And so obviously more companies looking to use AI and obviously use your company. There's also the rise of the AI automation agencies, as they call themselves, obviously helping businesses implement AI. Do you think that that's a model that is definitely going to be around in the next few years, or do you think it's kind of a short-term kind of cash grab?
Yeah, I think a little bit of both. I mean, the number of AI experts that have popped up over the last couple of years is pretty dramatic. Former digital agencies or digital strategists, SEO consultants, kind of everyone's suddenly become an AI expert. I think those agencies have a role to play. Obviously, in every industry, for every kind of function, there's an agency of some kind. Where there's arbitrage between knowledge and expertise and application, there's money to be made. So, that's still value in the market. I think the challenge for the clients of those agencies is that right now I see a lot of implementation of third-party tools. There's a lot of kind of smoke and mirrors behind how the integrations and connectivity works, the privacy and security, and so on and so forth. So, there's definitely been a rise of low-code, no-code platforms that are white-labeled, and agencies are kind of leaning into those, which is great for ad hoc kind of use cases. But when you really want a robust platform to build upon, then you really need to have more ownership and control over that. But certainly, again, there's still digital agencies, advertising agencies, recruitment agencies. The agency model still exists because of that, the needs and wants of the market. So it's definitely a business model which will persist. But I think given the transformational nature of the technology, at some point there's going to be a maturity stage where companies need to take control of their own technology destiny, and whether that's through bringing it in-house or a different kind of platform or tool or different kind of consulting model. I imagine all of the above may well be the case.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I know. I agree with you there. Makes perfect sense. In terms of what people are probably going to be interested in is how do you use AI on a day-to-day basis? Is there some key activities that you use it for? Do you use it for a lot of things, not a lot of things? How does it look like?
I mean, we still do a lot of kind of client-facing, market-facing workshops and stuff. So we've got to know more about it than anybody else in the room, pretty much. So yeah, I use it continuously. I mean, it's now a default, like do it there first before doing it anywhere else. And so for me, that's everything from a product strategy to a partnering program to a performance review, just anything and everything, right? So as our platform covers off these operational use cases, if we've got them internally, then they become a good candidate to put into our backlog. So the more that we use it, the better. And so one of the key things that it's a takeaway for everyone is the more context you can provide AI, the better it's going to be. For those that kind of started off going, it just gives vanilla responses, and then they realized the more context and history you give it, the less vanilla those are. So the race to provide context to AI is what people should be focused on, because there's opportunities there to build both IP and competitive moats and that kind of stuff. So we're spending a lot of time in that knowledge management, expert management kind of infrastructure. So And that's where I spend a lot of my time. And using AI to help build AI is a great use of the tools.
Totally. One thing I found very effective is if I want to prompt ChatGPT, I ask it to give it a prompt to itself, and that usually gives us some pretty good results. So
Absolutely.
yeah, using AI on AI is certainly an interesting one. Obviously, AGI is going to be multiple steps beyond that. But in terms of day to day, obviously there's things like Fixer AI, which is something that I use to manage my email inbox and categorize emails, draft replies, although I don't usually use those. Is there any tools that you would suggest using to people that they could implement, today or tomorrow to save time or make more money or save costs?
Yeah, so we use Canva a lot, and in Canva there's a ton of Gen AI tools, both for text and for images. We use Notion a lot, kind of the same. It's got pretty powerful capabilities. For those that are looking to get into more kind of process documentation, we use Miro, and Miro's got now a diagram tool prompt, so you can create process diagrams from a prompt. Super powerful. We're a Google Workspace kind of shop, so there's a lot of the generative stuff in emails and docs. But in terms of kind of third-party tools, typically we're looking to solve the problems ourselves. So if we have to go out and get a third-party tool, I'll say, well, actually, why don't we just build it ourselves? One of our key hypotheses is people don't want a tab for every AI function. The SaaSification of everything means we've now got 24 tabs in a browser open at any one time and switching between all of them to do work. Whereas I think people actually just want their existing tools to do better. And so it's very much an integration play. But I think the inspiration for what we should do in our platform comes from third-party tools. But I think a narrow, only does this thing is only going to endure for so long. I think whether it's the email providers are going to get better at doing what the tools do, or whether it's accounting software, whatever it might be. I think the standalone kind of wrappers have only got so long to live before they get embedded into a product or a platform. So we take inspiration from all of those and we have a play around with them, but I don't form new habits lightly. So I want to make sure we're using the right stuff.
100%. And coming to the end now, wrapping up, is there one piece of advice that you could give to your younger self before getting into the game of business?
I think build to sell. So kind of go into something going, actually, no matter how well I get through this journey, is actually to build something that could be sold at any point, rather than always trying to build something which is whatever, $1 billion business. It's a bit counter to the Silicon Valley kind of mode, but I think it's very easy to get trapped into the always continuing to try and make the one thing successful when you got lots of years in your life. You could have a dozen successful businesses rather than just one mega successful business. So I think having that mindset of build to sell, actually the constraints, the objectives, the metrics, the targets, the way that you do business, that's something that I would do it slightly differently if I did it over again.
Interesting. Great answer, and I haven't heard that one before from the guests so far. So thank you for your time, Asa.
Welcome.
And people can obviously find you on LinkedIn, your website. I'm sure they won't have any problems. And you've also got your podcast as well.
Yep, exactly. So we'll be on Spotify as well. So practical AI adoption. We find most people get excited about AI but don't know how to get started. So we're going to give away advice to help people on the journey. I spend most of my time on LinkedIn. So come check me out there.
Awesome, man. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks, Alex.